Welcome to BCIS 5378 Network Design and Administration. My name is Dr. H.Schuessler, and I will be your professor this semester. Basically, I like to create a couple of videos at the beginning of the semester to kind of share with the class to hopefully kind of make things a little bit easier, help you, in this case, see our Blackboard Shell, share the navigation structure with you, and hopefully it makes it a little bit easier in terms of figuring out where things are and how to navigate it and all those kinds of things. The second video will be over the syllabus, a lot of the kind of stuff that we might cover on the very first day of class if it were a face-to-face section. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Blackboard Shell. Depending on the courses that you're registered for and that you have assigned to you, it's going to look a little bit different, but in our particular case, we're signed up for this course right here. So you go ahead and click on that. That'll take you into your Blackboard Shell. Once it's done, it's pretty much going to look like this. The two videos I was just talking about will be right here, and this red part will be done. So as soon as I'm done with that, this part will be visible to you and the red part will be done. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to student preview mode so you can see what it is that you should be seeing right now. So like I said, this red part will be gone. Below that will be those two videos. Then below that is a Twitter feed that I have. And I try to tweet out things that I think are relevant to students, that are relevant to higher education, relevant to information systems, things like that. So there's a story about a data breach at Community Health Plan of Washington, things like that. So you don't have to follow me if you don't want to. You don't even have to have a Twitter account. You can view my feed right there. At the same time, if you want to follow me, you're certainly free to do that as well. Below that, we have help desk etiquette and computer use policy. If you're having some sort of problem, contact the Blackboard help desk. They're really good at being able to help you with most things right over the phone. They can log in remotely in a lot of cases to take care of issues. If you're concerned about that, it's okay. You'll be able to watch them do everything that they do and then disconnect. Below that is a policy on netiquette, if you want to take a look at that. If you're new to the online environment, if you're coming back to school after having been out for a long time or something like that, take a look at that. There are basic rules of the road, so to speak. Don't type in all caps, for example, things like that. Basically just ways to be professional in an online environment. And then finally below that is the computer use policy. Keep in mind, even though you may be accessing this on your home computer or work computer or something like that, you're actually accessing university systems. So don't do anything that you wouldn't do in broad daylight in public. So keep that in mind. So our navigation structure is right over here to the left. If you want to get back to this page, simply click on home. It'll bring you right back here. I've got the syllabus and the schedule posted already. They're linked right there. They're external documents, Google documents that you can pull up, and I'll address those in more detail in the next video. I've got lessons and lectures there. There's not much for this class that I have set up in that area right now. There are a couple. There's some basic rules about APA formatting, so when you're doing documents for this course, for other courses, that could be a useful resource for you. And then there's instructions about Microsoft Imagine, which is their free software that Microsoft provides to you by taking this course. So take a look at that. It's certainly one of the best ways to get familiar with a lot of that software is to play with it. So certainly take advantage of that while you're in this course. The next section is the stuff that students are usually most interested in, the deliverables. So this is where your grades are going to come from. So let's go ahead and step through those. The very first one under assessments, we've got all the assessments already posted with the exception of one, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. So you can see all the assessments are already posted. So the very first one is the assessment pretest. Basically, this is just a way for me to determine what your level of understanding is coming into the course. So do the best that you can. I want to get an accurate reading, but at the same time, don't stress about it. If you complete it, you're going to get your 5 points. So regardless of how well you do or how poorly you do, you're going to get those 5 points. Just complete it. All of the assessments are password protected using the password TEST, T-E-S-T, all lowercase. And that's basically just to prevent you from accidentally clicking on the wrong one and starting it and not being ready for it. So keep that in mind. If there's a password on something, type in test, all lowercase, and that'll get you in. Also, the grades for the assessments are done automatically with Blackboard, but you can't see your answers until after the due date has passed. So keep that in mind. So you'll be able to see your grade immediately after you submit it, but you won't be able to see the questions you got right and wrong until after the due date is passed. And so there's some basic instructions here, how to be able to see your quizzes after the fact. So take a look at that video if you're having trouble finding that. Assessment 0, AS0, is over the syllabus. So be sure and read through the syllabus. Watch the syllabus video. Print it out, have it open on a second monitor, whatever it is you need to. It's not meant to trick you. It's really designed just to make sure they've actually read the syllabus and understand what the course requirements are. So, that should be an easy grade. Take advantage of that. After that, there are the various quizzes, and they're all already posted. Keep in mind, they don't go in order. So when you're reading the text, you're not going to want to start at chapter 1 or lesson 1. You need to start at lesson 15 in this particular case. So AS1 is lesson 15, AS2 is lesson 16, and it kind of bounces around. Then we get down to 22, then it goes back to 4, and so on. They are in order in terms of when they're due. So start at the top here and work your way down. They're already posted, so you can work ahead. I encourage you to work ahead a little bit, not too much because you don't want to get too out of touch with the rest of the class. But work ahead a little bit because you want to be able to, if there's a job interview or a frat party or a technical issue, you want to be sure and have worked ahead so that that doesn't cause you any kind of consternation. Once the due date is passed, these will disappear from this menu, and the only ones that will be remaining are the ones that are still due. So there's no opportunity to make up the quizzes. I drop your lowest 3 quizzes, so keep that in mind. I don't reset quizzes for any reason or anything like that, so keep that in mind. Part of the reason I dropped the lowest quiz scores is for that very reason. They are timed, so keep that in mind, and it's a limited time. This is not an exercise in looking up the answers, rather it's an exercise in trying to make sure that you're reading and staying current in your reading and review of the PowerPoints and discussion boards and all those kinds of things. Because I dropped the lowest 3 quiz scores, usually the averages turn out being pretty good. Students typically hate the quizzes, but the averages usually turn out pretty well by the end of the semester once we start dropping the lowest quiz score. So I understand that it's frustrating, but I really have had very good success with these over the years, so I continue to kind of follow that format. The homework is posted right here, and homework 0 is a little bit different from the rest. Homework 0 is really kind of designed for you to create a folder in Google Docs and share that folder with me, and that's where you're going to keep the files that you create over the course of the semester and share with me. So kind of read through those instructions and do that. There's also an information form that you'll need to complete, which is a Google form. So do that, and I want you to post a link as a link that opens up, that is clickable and opens up into a new window. Students usually have a lot of trouble with this, so I give you some basic instructions, and I created a video to show you how. So it's really pretty easy and pretty straightforward. So hopefully you shouldn't have any issues there. The assignments where I require that, there are points associated with that function, so these should be easy points. Take advantage of that. The homework itself is not in Blackboard. It's in an environment called Test Out, and this is the information that you're going to need to be able to register for Test Out. So your discount code is right here. Be sure and take note of that when you're registering. It saves you a lot of money. I think it's $111 or something like that currently, but it's like $495 if you're paying retail for it. So it's a big discount. Be sure and take advantage of that. The course that you're registering for and Test Out, and what I've referred to it as, and then my information there. And then the assignments, what's due when, all those kinds of things. So homework 1, homework 2, etc. So if you click on that, you can get a little more information. It talks about when it's due and all those kinds of things. So that is it on the homework. And again, all of those are posted. I encourage you to work ahead. Again, the same deal goes here with the assessments, that when the due date passes, these disappear. And so it'll kind of clean up this section. So the only ones that are remaining are the ones that are still due. And then lastly, as far as the deliverables are the exams, you can kind of see those there. You won't be able to see these, or I guess you can actually see these, the practice exams, for example, which you do at the end of the semester. Certainly you can start working ahead. And those are visible. There's actually a third one, which is your final exam. The final exam is not here in Blackboard. It's actually in the test out environment, administered through Examity, and we'll talk about that more in the syllabus video. But Examity is a proctoring solution. We'll talk about that later. But it's in the test out environment, so you actually have the opportunity to not only get a grade for your final exam, but also potentially pass the certification exam. So that's kind of a nice little thing that we can add to the course. Communications is next. I've got several of these in here, and there are different ways of communicating. Announcements, I send out announcements once a week. I usually talk about things that are going on in the class. What's going on, what's due this coming week, things like that. I find it very helpful. I get a lot of good feedback about it helping everybody stay on track. So expect to start seeing those the first week of class. Course messages. If you have a question about a grade or something like that, do use course messages. Do not send me regular email if it's course related. If it's course related, it must be here within Blackboard. If it's something external to the course, you need a recommendation letter, for example, by all means, send it to my regular email address. But if it's course related, it needs to be in here. If it's personal, it needs to be a course message as opposed to the discussion board, which is our next item. Post your introductions. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I've already posted mine to try to give you some information, but take advantage of that. If you're having trouble on test out, there's a particular task or something like that you're struggling with, post it right here to ask the professor and your peers. And I usually let the peers try to answer that question, so I'll let that stay up there for a few days before I try to chime in. So I'm really looking for everybody to help each other out. Then I've got an Ask a Librarian in there. I don't really, I don't foresee that really being a big use in this course, but it is there if you had a question. Virtual office hours, those are inside of Zoom, so if we need to video chat, we can certainly do that. Just send me a message, we'll schedule it out and we can meet virtually that way, or you're free to come to my office whenever you want. Again, I would probably send a message just so we can make sure that I'm here. As department head, I get pulled out an awful lot, so even though I have pretty significant office hours Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, a lot of times I'm in meetings, I'm at conferences, things like that. Something else to keep in mind is my grades. This is another way of communicating, and so I that's why I put it under this section. If you're getting a bunch of zeros for things that were due and it's 2 weeks later, that's a problem. Something's not right. You need to reach out and contact me as quickly as possible. You'll see the stuff that's due in there for the things that are graded via rubrics. You can click on those and you can see those rubrics and see how they're assessed. So be sure and look through those rubrics to know how a particular assignment's being assessed. You can also look at those in other places. So that's homework 0, for example. If you wanted to go to homework and homework 0, you click on here. It shows you when it's due, and then there's the rubric right there. So that's just another way to access that very same rubric. So pay attention to that because that'll tell you how you're going to be assessed for it. And then here at the very bottom, we have supplemental material, and so it's supplemental. You don't have to pay attention to it, but it's certainly there if you would like. Slides, a lot of students like to use slides to study with, things like that. So I've posted all of those there. They were originally PowerPoints. I've converted them to Google's presentations just so it doesn't count against my storage, but they're all posted right there, so you can certainly feel free to take a look at those. I also include funny videos, things that I think are tech related, and I think they're funny. And in some cases, they can be a little crude. So if you're faint of heart, you might want to avoid those. But I think they're all pretty funny. Social media, I'm available through a variety of different channels. I have my own website. My server is actually turned off right now. We were moving things around for the holidays, so I will have to get that fired back up. But Google Plus community, I'm not particularly active on, but I do have that. It's closed to my students only. I have a YouTube channel that is fairly active. I have a Twitter feed. I used to be particularly active. I'm less so now that I have to manage our department's social media as well. So, but I do still tend to post things or tweet things out. LinkedIn, I encourage all of you to be active in LinkedIn. It's especially as professional students, this is something you need to be very active in and be very professional in the image that you're putting out there. And then I have a list of recommended books through Amazon, and I listen to Audible books on my drive-in every morning and on my way home. So I go through quite a few books, and the ones that I think are particularly good, I'll go ahead and order the hard copies of them. So those are the ones that I end up recommending. So take a look at those and kind of follow up on that. Then I've got a couple of things that may be of interest to you. They're not particularly important, but they may be of interest to you. At the beginning of the semester, as part of the pretest, I gather data on your learning style and personality. So you can take a look at that there, and you can kind of see how the class falls out. So in this particular case, students tend to be very observational, which is you have a preference for external stimuli such as demonstrations and diagrams. That's great. That's where test out's really going to be beneficial, I think. And then we tend to be lowest on structured, which is preference for processing strategies such as taking notes, writing down task steps, etc. And that's probably good too. We don't have an awful lot of that. As far as personality, it's right here, and you can kind of follow along on that same kind of thing. Biggest on openness, lowest on neuroticism, probably a good thing. As students take this test as the last question on the pretest, this stuff will be updated, and you'll kind of see how this particular class has affected the course in general. Then I've got course evaluations from previous semesters as part of the post-test. Your numbers will be going in here. I really encourage you, this is my own personal course evaluations that I do at the end of the semester. I encourage you to do the universities as well. I even encourage you to use Rate My Professor. So any way I can get feedback, I'm going to take advantage of that. So just click on that link and it'll take you right to my Rate My Professor page. So you can kind of read through that. There's different rankings there, and then there's even some of the text feedback that I've gotten for this course. So the final thing is Blackboard Help. If you have need of help, something doesn't make sense to you, you can click on that and browse through and try to find answers yourself. Me personally, I would contact the Blackboard Help Desk. That's just, I think it tends to be quicker and it's more specific to our situation. So that is it for our Blackboard Shell. Again, click on home to take us back to the home page, and there we are. So again, my name is Dr. H.Schuessler. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to me and let me know what's going on, and I'm looking forward to a great semester. Take care.